magistrates, angels, and all of you are children of the Most High, but you shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. So every one of you is a god, every one of you is going to die like a man, and you shall fall because you fell from heaven. Everybody was an angel. I just proved it using the word of God. You shall be holy, for I am holy. And if you call on him as Father, who judges impartially according to each one's deeds, conduct yourselves with fear throughout the time of your exile. You shall fall like one of the princes. You were exiled. End of story.
Let me tell you why you're here.
A bunch of God's children, a bunch of angels are going into the mouth of the serpent. So the food for the serpent is God's angels, God's children. And the mouth of the serpent also happens to be the female reproductive system. That seems to be the point to which God's children were trapped. They were ensnared, and they're being birthed out into the flesh to where they're getting host bodies that are actually prison suits. And unless they're converted before they die, they turn into food for the serpent. So we've seen that agenda repeat itself now in images that people have drawn of me on repetitively. Every time I've confronted those individuals, they've turned straight up demonic. I'm going to build a serpent being. I'm going to build a human that's built out of a serpent. I'm going to do it with a couple pictures. It's like part human, part serpent. Now I'm going to drag it over and I'm going to drop it right on the Pharaoh. Now you know why pharaohs wore those headdresses, because they were the serpent race of beings. Isaiah 30, you cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, says the Lord. And you trust in the strength of Pharaoh and in the shadow of the strength of Pharaoh, because these guys hide all their stuff in the shadows. James 1 says, every good and perfect gift comes from above, from the creator of heavenly lights, not like them that cast shifting shadows. Just pretend behind the skin right there is actually a serpent. So now let's go ahead and build a puzzle. We all know that the serpent is the devil. And then we're going to show you what those commercials were used for, because I wanted to show you at the beginning this outward manifestation of the serpent race, that you can see it right in humanity. It's right in front of your face. Here's an image I showed you that's of a sheep with its tongue sticking out. Jesus told Peter, do you love me? Feed my sheep. Do you love me? Feed my sheep. Do you love me? Feed my sheep. And by the way, Peter, your death is going to glorify God. He died upside down. Let me feed the sheep, just like Peter did. So I'm showing the sheep the truth now. I'm feeding the sheep. I'm taking an image that was right side up, and that it's the virgin. I'm going to turn it upside down and show you, see, Mother Goddess worship is evil, and it kills the sheep. Again, I'm going to take an image of Nefertiti from a hieroglyph of Akhenaten. Akhenaten means worshippers of the sun. I'm going to feed the sheep. I'm going to turn this image upside down, and you'll see it's an image of a sheep with its tongue sticking out. Now, let me show you where the cannibalistic agenda, the first place in history that the Lord's revealed it to me, is in a hieroglyph of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. This is taken from a National Geographic, April 2001, Pharaohs of the Sun. This is from another source. This is not from that magazine. It's the same hieroglyph. The cumulative sum of this image is a face. It's also the female reproductive system. We have the ovaries, we have the fallopian tube, ovary and fallopian tube coming down to the uterus, cervix, and this line right here between the lips is the opening to the vagina. This is all the image of a big face. The bottom lip right here, the line between the lips, the top lip right here. Here is the nose going up to the eye, and this is the cheek and the cheek. The cumulative sum of the hieroglyph is the face of the evil one. That is amazing. The whole thing makes a face, as well as the female reproductive system. Well, this is 1,300 years before Christ is when this was carved. So let me show you what was going on in the mind of the artist. We're going to break it down part by part. I want you to look over here to the right. You'll see that there's a serpent right here going up the queen. The eye of the serpent right there, and the nose of the serpent is right there. There's a child that's standing in the lap of the queen. That child is actually going into the mouth of the serpent, but the mouth of the serpent is actually made up of the bottom part of the child. Here is the queen, that when you turn the queen upside down, it is a dead sheep. And we're going to look at this part right now because right here lies the entire agenda. All the children are being eaten by serpents. The child that's sitting on the lap of the queen right here, that child is going into the mouth of the serpent. So you can see very obviously that the serpent has the legs of this child hanging out of the mouth. All the children in the hieroglyph are being eaten by the serpent because they are all offspring of the serpent and they are all hybrids. This has not been altered at all. That is the hand of the queen, and that hand is a serpent, and the legs of the child are hanging out of the mouth of the serpent. Let's build the entire agenda. Here is a profile of a spirit that's trapped in hell. The red flames and the yellow flames are right here. Now, if you look very closely at the forehead, he's got horns and they make flames. So the spirit is in flames, and that's the eye, and this is the nose, and this is the mouth, the bottom of the chin. The Pharaoh has his feet on top of the door, and there is no escape for that spirit. You can see the feet holding down the door, and here is that spirit trapped in hell, because he has become part of this cannibalistic system. Here is the Pharaoh right here. So it looks like a human, but it's not. Inside of the Pharaoh is very cleverly hidden an alien. A serpent being is inside the Pharaoh. Now he looks human, but he's not human. Okay, so let's take a look. So there you see where the alien is hidden inside the head of the Pharaoh. Here is the eye of the alien right here, this dark patch. There's where the nose, it looks almost like a skull. There's the eye, there's the nose, there's the other eye. Has a frowny mouth like a marionette under the chin down to the neck. Here's the top of the head going to the base of the skull and down the neck. There's the image of the alien inside Akhenaten. So there is a serpent hidden, disguised by a suit of human skin, but what's really inside him is an alien. Now, let's build the puzzle. Here is an image of sexual penetration. As I zoom out, you're going to see a woman that's on her knees. Here is the top of the head of the woman. Think of this as blonde hair. The top of the head right here going down to the hair right here. The eye here in the shadow. The mouth is made by this shape of the hand right here is the mouth. There's the eye. And here's the penis penetrating the vagina. And here's to the buttocks and then going down to the thigh and the leg. And there is the leg shooting out behind the body of this woman that's on her knees. The hip, here is the other shadow of the buttock going down to the back of the hamstring. This is the front of the thigh to the knee and shooting out. She is on her knees and there is a penetration occurring.
Breeding vessels.
And now we're going to identify who it's from. What's hidden inside him is this alien. It's a scrotum. This is a male scrotum in green. And then the penis I've colored pink, and it's penetrating this female that is on her knees. Now, it looks like, he's human, but he's really a serpent being. That's what's really behind the outward shell. It's really a serpent having sex with this human female. Akhenaten has the child very close to his face, and the reason is he's actually stealing his breath, but it almost looks like he's about to kiss his own child on the lips. This hidden agenda, this monster, is really destroying and eating his own child. In the head of this child is a sheep with its tongue sticking out. This is very easy to see. So the father is holding his own child, but let's see what it really turns into. When you turn this upside down, the father becomes this creature. He becomes the serpent being, just like I showed you over here. Here's his eye right here, his sharp nose right here. His mouth is open like a serpent. His tongue is coming out and going straight to the nostrils and mouth of his own child. He is cannibalizing his own hybrid child, and the child is a sheep, a dead sheep with its tongue sticking out, and it's upside down. This is the identical agenda as the Roman Catholic Church, as the Vatican. It is just in a hieroglyph that's 1,300 years before Christ ever walked the earth. I've just shown you the identical agenda. A serpent eating a sheep, and the sheep is his own child. So the production of these children is producing more energy for that serpent race.
That's their role here.
To be your food.
Yes. Eat them!
Okay, now I'm going to break down the image of the child for you so you understand. Around the edge of the child's head is a dark spot, and that's for a very specific purpose. The whole head of the child is a reptile egg. Here is an image of a reptile that is in the fetal position as it would be in an egg. Here's the eye of the reptile right here. Here is the eyebrow of the reptile on the far side of the head. This is the nose coming under the neck, and here is the back of the reptile, and it's curled around, and it's got its tail wrapped around it. So I'm going to take the reptile and I'm going to drop it right there in the reptile egg. The child has a dead sheep inside his head, and then he has a reptile that is benefiting at the cost of the dead sheep. You have a new consciousness forming within the head of the child because of the hybridization. So the child is at odds with himself. There's a sheep that's dying, and there's a reptile that's growing, and the child himself is a vampire. The entire system that has been formed now is cannibalistic. The soul of the victims is in flames and looks like it's in absolute agony. You're looking at the identical agenda as St. Peter's Basilica. This is a good representation right here of this soul that's been trapped down here because he's in flames, and that is the agenda. Previously you saw this particular image of a sheep. I drew special attention that this also forms the female reproductive system, that you have the ovary, fallopian tube, uterus, cervix, and opening to the vagina, and it is all superimposed again over the face of the sheep. This is also a male penis. This is the head of the penis. This is the body of the penis and the scrotum right here. So you have the male and female reproductive system both hidden. You have cumulatively the female reproductive system, and you have the face of a sheep. These are the ears of the sheep going out. This is the fur of the sheep. It's a Mayan representation of a sheep. I also showed you that there was an image of a devil that was superimposed over the face of the sheep. He has wings. Here's the eye of the devil, the nose, and his wings are also the female reproductive system. This is from Guatemala. This is a museum that was actually built around this pyramid. This was sent to me from my father-in-law from Guatemala. As I enlarge it, you'll see an image right here on the base. This is a Mayan king wearing a headdress. I'm going to go ahead and turn the entire image upside down now. And here is the image of the sheep with the devil superimposed, and I'll drag it right onto it. There's the sheep, female reproductive system, male reproductive system, and there's also cumulatively a serpent with the eye and the eye here coming down to the mouth of the serpent here. So the whole thing is also in the mouth of the serpent. We could take two pyramids from different parts of the world with hieroglyphs, and we could produce the identical agenda as the Vatican. And they all match the same agenda as a greeting card that was given to me, as well as several pictures that were drawn to me and given to me by people I know. We wanted you to see those before we moved on.
Have you ever had a dream, Neo, that you were so sure was real? What if you were unable to wake from that dream? How would you know the difference between the dream world and the real world?
This can't be. Be what? Be real?
After this, there is no turning back.
Human host body represented by a hendecagram, which in Jewish mysticism is called the Kelipot, is ruled over by the Queen of Heaven. The host body system is inherently evil, and it is cannibalistic in nature. And inside every host body, where the spirit of God, the energy of God's angels, is being cannibalized by a demon, in which that energy is transmuted and used for another species in order to take a soul to hell as food for another race of beings, which is Apollyon and the Locust from the pit. Revelation 9 says, "And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the pit, and smoke rose out of the pit, like the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit, and there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. Scorpions have blue blood, by the way. The elite queens, the kings, they're called blue blood. So do octopus and squid. Have you ever seen the symbol of the octopus used for the Rothschild machine? There's maps that show an octopus with its tentacles reaching all forms of government. And they had a king over them. Now we're at Revelation 9:11. Twin Towers were bombed on 9/11 for a reason. They had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue has the name Apollyon. Government means, it's from governo, governare, Palacio de Governare in the Vatican, where CIA building, we're going to look at it. They are identical. They have two twin buildings that are joined together by a building in the middle, and that is the government of the world. And the word governare means to control, and mentis, the mind. Latin noun mens, mentis means mind. So government means to control the mind. The Palacio de Governare in the Vatican, right there. Now remember, this split sidewalk is the tongue of the serpent, which is the entire Vatican building itself. So the mouth that speaks for the serpent, and this is the halls of government. This is the Palacio de Governare. You'll see one rectangular building here, and its identical twin here, joined together by a building in the middle, where the one that rules it walks in the middle of the door. The CIA building is the same. You have one building that's rectangular with this corner that's got these triangles, and its identical twin over here. So even the government itself is twins. The buildings themselves are in the orientation of two twin buildings that are joined together by a building in the middle, and you walk right in the middle of the door. Y'all know that the hendecagram is the geometric design that the Statue of Liberty sits on top of. This goddess that sits on top is Eleutheria. It is also representative of what's called the triple goddess. This mother goddess takes on many, many forms. An application of a hendecagram is prisms over the hendecagram's 11.3 and 11.4 points may be used to approximate the shape of DNA molecules. There's actually the idea of using light, bending light, to approximate what the shape of a DNA molecule might look like. Think of maybe a human that had a cloaking device or something like that, where what you're looking at sure looks human, but it's not as human as you think. Okay? On top of the hendecagram, the Statue of Liberty, Libertas, Eleutheria, it's also this triple goddess that goes back to Eos, the moon goddess, and Hecate. Now, you see this circle right here and this line going to this hendecagram? Does that look like anything on your screen? A kelipot in Jewish Kabbalah, it literally means a peel, shell, or husk. Think of your body, and it is representative of evil or impure spiritual forces in Jewish mysticism and the polar opposites. And it houses a system that is in conflict with itself. So the kelipot is ruled over by the queen, and this queen represents, again, Themiel, which are dual and opposing forces like good and evil. I want everybody to take a very good look what's in the middle of this thing. There is a right side up and upside down interlocking triangles, and in the very center of that is the sigil of Baphomet, representing the goat-headed god. So there is a fight going on within that system. Here it says, peel, shell, or husk of the tree of knowledge. The energy that is in opposing forces, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right side up and upside down. The kelipot are metaphorical shells surrounding holiness. They are spiritual obstacles receiving their existence from God only in an external rather than internal manner. Isis is not only not holding the light above humanity, but she is also the goddess of duality, who represents evil or impure spiritual forces. Okay, remember I showed you Beyonce at the Grammy Awards? She's dressed as the Queen of Heaven right here. This is the same as the mother goddess that's standing on top of the kelipot. That she is a representation of the Queen of Heaven. And here is an image of the Queen of Heaven right next to her. They're identical. Now remember, I'm going to show you in just a minute that the Queen of Heaven masquerades in many, many, many forms. She masquerades in the form of what's called the triple goddess, as Hecate, as Selene, as the moon goddess, Kali. And see, she's got her tongue sticking out. And it's all the same thing, just under a different package. If anyone saw her performance, you'll see that she asked, do you remember when you were born or you were formed in your mother's womb? And then she pushed this spirit out, like she gave you life. She's the one that rules over the host body system. She has on her stomach a serpent eating its own tail, and there's the face of a woman in the middle of the serpent. Her eyes are closed because she's blind now. She's not able to see. All humans are blind. We're born blind and we're born dead. And the serpent is ruling over the host body system. The serpent is in the middle of what's called an isotoxal star. An isotoxal image is an image that changes faces, changes dimensions, and one edge changes to the other. So basically, it's like looking in a mirror, so to speak. From one edge to another, it's also a dimensional change within the object. An isotoxal star is a 3-pointed or 4-pointed star. In geometry, a polytope, for example, a polygon or polyhedron or a tellene, is isotoxal or edge transitive. If its symmetries act transitively on its edges, informally, this means that there is only one type of edge to the object. Given two edges, there is a translation, one to the other, like that. So there is a translation, rotation, and or reflection that will move one edge to the other while leaving the region occupied by the object unchanged. In the beginning, the first children that were born were Cain and Abel. As one takes over the other one, it becomes cannibalistic. In every host body or kelipot that the Queen of Heaven rules over, you have opposing forces that are at war with each other, and one is cannibalizing the other while leaving the outward appearance the same, isotoxal. So the human body looks the same, but inside it has become inherently evil. And so the Twin Towers were bombed. In their place was put the One World Freedom Tower, where Barack Obama wrote, "We remember, we rebuild, we come back stronger." And he's referring to the Nephilim after the flood, which is everybody, which is every single host body, WWW666. And he's claiming that the host body, which is made of carbon, 6 atoms, 6 protons, 6 electrons, has now made its comeback and is the host body for the cannibalistic evil entity that is taken over the host body system. That's what this entire image you're looking at is a representation of. Okay, now this is taken from the Catholic Church. What you're looking at here is a double-headed phoenix. That represents the system that you're caught in because of the commingling of two different DNAs, the seed of the serpent and the seed of the woman in Genesis 3. And the serpent said unto the woman, "Did God tell you if you partook of the tree you would not die?" And she said, "Yes, neither can we touch it lest we die." The word touch means euphemistically to lay with a woman. I want you to look at these two DNA strands. Here's a DNA strand from one species, and here's a DNA strand from another species. Well, they interlock to make twin V's, and you can see it makes the letter W. Now that is the government of the world, and it is ruled over by the serpent. You can see the crown is actually the head of a serpent. It's a crown, and it's the serpent. See, it's the same as the Vatican, folks. It's identical. And it's ruling over the double-headed phoenix, which is the entire host body system above ground. The Targum was used to teach the lay people, and the rabbinical teachers would sit everybody down and teach from the Pentateuch and from the Targum. You go on eSword and you read Genesis. When you look at the word Eve, you'll see that her name is really Hava when you translate it. And Adam knew Hava, his wife, who had desired the angel, and she conceived, and she bare Cain. And she said, "I have acquired a man, the angel of the Lord." And she added to bear from her husband Adam, his twin, even Abel. And if you look up Abel, the name for Abel is really Abel. Now they're going to be expelled from the garden. And Adam called the name of his wife Hava, because she is the mother of all the children of men. And the Lord God made to Adam and to his wife vestures of honor from, look at that, the skin of the serpent, which he had cast from him. So we are basically serpent humans is what we really are. We're gods, but we shall die like men. We're all angels that got caught in the snare of the devil, and we're being converted into food for another race of beings that's in the pit. Eat them! Then there's this woman named Marina Abramovic. She is a witch. She has spirit cooking parties. Now you understand what a spirit cooking party is. She's having a party because she knows their evil spirit is cannibalizing the Spirit of God. She invites Miss Clinton, John Podesta. They are absolute sick, twisted, cannibalistic people, pedophiles. And every spell that she starts with the letter W. You can see those are two interlocking V's because she knows that one spirit is literally cooking the other because it's being used as fuel for their fire, for their race of beings. See, they run all these people. This spirit literally runs Beyonce, runs Jay-Z. They are complete and utter slaves. And the slave collar they have on is so bad. To get their slave collar off would just be an act of the Lord God. It's not going to happen unless the Lord God just intervenes in a supernatural way on their behalf. The Statue of Liberty has many different names. It's a mother goddess figure. Libertas, it's Eleutheria in Greek. It's also Eos, the goddess of the dawn. In Greek mythology, Eos, pronounced dawn, is a Titaness and a goddess of the dawn, who rose each morning from her home at the edge of Oceanus. Okay, and associated with her, Helios, the god of the sun, and Selene, goddess of the moon. So these are all associated with each other. There you go. Goddess of the dawn. See, she's watching the dawn, the sun come up, and they worship the sun, and she's looking towards the sun. And now, they had a king over them, Apollyon. Helios is the incarnation of the sun. Now, the two are gone, and the one is standing right in front of the Statue of Liberty. That the two have become one. Now let me show you this. We're going to tie Catholicism together with the CIA. We already showed you the buildings are identical. Here is the Pope, and he's holding a sun. This is called a crosier. It's actually called a monstrance. It's, everyone's a monster is the truth. We are all monsters. There's a 16-pointed sun. That's called the Sun of Virginia. The Catholic Church has a Virginia sun on his monstrance or his crosier. The Virginia sun, or the Star of Virginia, is a 16-pointed star, and it also comes in 8-point and other points, but it's from ancient Greece, and it's associated with Helios. See right here? From Athena's temple, see? And Athena is the virgin goddess of war, right here. Okay? So there is Helios, which is the personification of the sun. And don't forget, all the Satanists, they are sun worshippers. So there is the Virginia sun, the 16-pointed sun, and there is the 16-pointed sun on monstrance carried by the Pope. This is off the altar from the Catholic Church. It is a 16-pointed sun with male and female rays. It is showing a birth. In the middle of the 16-pointed sun is the birthing of a child. That's from the Catholic Church. And here is a representation of Mother Goddess, the Moon Goddess, which is also associated with the Catholic Church. The CIA building has this image right here on the floor. It is a 16-pointed sun. It is also the Star of Virginia. Now remember, the CIA building right there is identical to the Catholic Palacio de Governare. It means mind control. And again, I'm going to drag the CIA building right on top of the building at the Vatican, the Palacio de Governare, of mind control. Here we have in the Vatican an image of a guy in a slave collar. So when we turn this guy in the slave collar upside down, it becomes this image of a locust coming out of a hole. I'm going to slide over here, and I'm going to show you that same locust. I'll show you one coming out of the ground. Here in Texas, we have cicadas. They're called locusts. People call them locusts and or cicadas. I'm going to zoom out from the image, and I'm going to show you there's that image of a locust coming out of the pit. Okay, now I want you to look how good this art is. Here's this guy in a slave collar, and look at his wavy hair. The reason they made his hair all wavy like that, you have an image of a locust coming out of a hole, and its wings moving, and that makes the wind under the wings. That's why they did it like that. So this is at the Catholic Church. Now, let me show you another locust that's hatching. I'm going to take this image of a cicada, and I'm going to slide it down right on top of this locust that's hatching out of this covering right here. I'll take this one and I'll slide it down right here, and you can see that that's a locust hatching out of its shell. Even though locusts come out the backs of their shells, this is done by design. This is called a CIA challenge coin. This is passed around from members of the CIA, and it's a way to, build up camaraderie amongst the ranks. When I saw it, immediately the Lord grabbed a hold of me and told me, turn it upside down, and I did what he said. So now the Catholic Church, as well as the CIA, when you turn that image upside down right there, it becomes a locust coming out of the pit. So there it is. There is a locust coming out of its covering. The Bible says in John 15, if I had not come and spoken to them, they had not sinned, but now they have no covering for their sin. You see, his identity is completely concealed because he's really a bug in an 11-pointed star called a kelipot, and the application of this thing is prisms over the necrogram may be used to approximate the shape of DNA molecules. Just because you see something that looks human doesn't mean that what's behind the cover is human. Okay, another lunar symbol is the triple goddess. It shows the moon in 3 of the 4 phases, waxing, full, and waning. The phases of the moon are linked with the monthly phases of a woman's cycle, each running about 28.5 days in length. The lunar phases are symbolic of the human lifespan. The waxing moon equates to growing up. The full moon is the phase of adulthood, and the waning moon is old age, and the dark moon is death. The triple goddess is usually worn and denotes the woman is a priestess. So this symbol right here is a symbol of the triple goddess. A hexagram in Latin is also called a sexagram. It is formed by 2 interlocking right side up and upside down equilateral triangles. So if you look in the middle of this equilateral triangle, see, if you look in the middle of these 2 intersecting triangles, it makes a cell, kind of like you'd see on a beehive or something, like this. This is what it makes right here. So the 2 interlocking triangles, which is also called a sexagram, is also what happens to be in the middle of the kelipot. In the middle of the kelipot is the right side up, upside down triangle, making a hexagram or a sexagram, and in the middle of that is the sheep and the goats. The pentagram represents the goats, the new race of beings coming out of its little beehive thing. Just there you go. Transmutation is the action of changing or state of being changed into another form. The conversion or transformation of one species into another. Kind of like spirit cooking.
That's their role here.
To be your food.
Yes.
Transmutation. Metaphysical science, mystical art of manipulating and altering matter by using natural energy. This act is known as transmutation.
It's meant to signify an artistic statement of birthing a new race, a race within the race of humanity, a race within the race of humanity.
A race within the race of humanity.
But I believe what was once one race is now 2.
This act is known as transmutation, and its sequence is usually described as, number 1, comprehension, understanding the inherent structure and properties of the atomic or molecular makeup of a particle material to be transmuted. So number 1, you have to understand what it is you're trying to change, including the flow and the balance of potential and kinetic energy within. Then there is deconstruction, using energy to break down the physical structure of the identified material into a more malleable state so as to be easily reshaped into a new form. Now, if you were an angel and you got trapped in a kelipot or an 11-pointed star host body called a human body, that human body would be used to break down your energy, wouldn't it? That's why Beyonce was wearing her isotoxal star with the Ouroboros. So what you're going to do is you're going to decide what it is you're going to break down. Then you're going to use energy to break down the structure of it. like a cannibalistic system called a kelipot, or a human host body, into a more malleable state so you can easily reshape it into a new form. So where does your energy go? It goes into the pit. And then reconstruction, continuing the flow of energy so as to reform the material into a new shape. The energy within that host body goes into the pit because it was never reconciled to God. And then you reconstruct it, continuing the flow of energy so as to reform the material into a new shape. Kind of like a human in a slave collar, that when you turn it upside down, it becomes food for a locust that comes out of the pit. Well, let me show you a transmutation circle real quick. So look at all the interesting transmutation circles, and it's very common. You have the right side up, upside down pyramid, right side up, upside down circle. You have a lot of them. Look, wow, the Ouroboros, look at that. There's the dragon eating its own tail with the right side up, upside down pyramid right in the middle. It's very common to see images of the waxing moon and the waning moon. And you'll also have the image of the triple goddess, which is a representation of the Statue of Liberty. Well, let's start looking at some people, and this is what the Lord told me to do. Go look at people, girls that have locust tattoos, cicada. Wow, there's a cicada, and he's in, wow, look, so there you go. There's the transmutation circle there. Let's take a look at this image. What does she have right at the top of her locust? The same thing that's in the dead center of the kelipot. And there is the all-seeing eye. The sigil of Baphomet, this is triple helix DNA. This is also a symbol for witchcraft. And the Ankh, the key, using humans as food. That's what those symbols stand for. Why would a girl have a big bug tattooed on her? I found it was a common theme. And look right here on her arm. She has the crescent moon and the star, which represents Apollyon and the moon goddess. Here's another girl with a giant cicada or locust on her back. Why are all these girls having bugs tattooed on them? And they have cicadas, all of them. Let's take a look at this young lady. She's got the cicada tattooed on her chest, and she has the triple goddess on the tattoo. The triple goddess represents the life cycle. They're inside transmutation circles. They're inside they have the image from the kelipot. What's being produced inside the pit? They had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit. Who had a king over them? The locusts had a king over them. And who is the above ground system that sends everybody to the bottomless pit? The mother goddess, the triple goddess, Eos, Eleutheria, it's a Hecate, it's a bunch of names. The Lord told me, Jonathan, look up Mother of Exiles. Let me show you what the Lord showed me. When I saw that image, the Lord told me, there it is. The mystery solved. You've got it. The Mother of Exiles uses the human host body as an energy transfer system to take God's angels and feed them to another race of beings inside the pit. And it's a race of locusts, and the king over them is Apollyon, the sun god, that's about to make his move on all of humanity. That's why you have an image of the Statue of Liberty holding a cicada in her chest. Or is it a boy wrapped in an American flag? I'm here to tell you it's a cicada. There's no doubt about it. Now remember, that altar right there is the dead sheep. That's a giant bug, people. That's a giant locust you're looking at. There's the antenna. There's the other antenna. Here's the top of the head. And the mouth of the bug. It's a giant head of a locust. And then the mouth of the locust, as the image disappears, becomes the dimension into which God's children are caught in a transmutation. The human host body is nothing more than a system of transmutation to take one of God's angels and convert it to energy to another locust from the pit, because they're about ready to hatch and come out of that pit. The Lord told me to approach the altar. The Lord told me simply to look up. It's a beehive. It's a hive. All the sexagrams. There's a hive below us. And in the inside of the pit is a hive. and we are used as food for this creature. That's why all these hallways are cells, because they're birthing new ones from the use of angels. And the human host body is nothing more than a transmutation system in order to catch God's children and put them in a snare, which is the female reproductive system. That's why they worship the Virgin. That's why it's very common to see these girls. Look at all these girls that have locust tattoos hanging on the moon goddess. Let me show you the moon goddess. Do you ever read the Bible and there is a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet? Let me show you an image of the Virgin de Guadalupe. That's the moon under her feet. Let me show you an image of the triple goddess, Hecate, holding the torch. You see it? Triple goddess. Does that remind you of something? Statue of Liberty, maybe? She's holding the torch. She's the triple goddess, the moon goddess. Let me show you how it's always associated with this cicada thing. Look, right there. There's the cicada. See the moon? Okay, now watch. Let me show you the spirit. There it is right there on this guy's back. That's the spirit. That is the witchcraft, the curse that's gone out over the whole earth. Now watch. These are all cicadas on women. Very few on men. And then here is, in Greek mythology, Thelene, the moon, is the goddess of the moon. She is the daughter of the Titaness Hyperion and the sister of the sun god Helios, and Eos, goddess of the dawn. This triple goddess system, 3 unclean spirits, like frogs up from the mouth of the beast, the dragon and the false prophet. Let me show you some artwork from people. That's perfect. It's like half skull, half human, vampire, locust coming out of one eye, teeth like a vampire. She's got a locust on her arm, and look, she's stitched together because there's something under the skin. See, I mean, it's manifests all over the place. That's a cicada, that's a locust, held by the Statue of Liberty. That's the entire transmutation system on this girl's back. And again, transmutation, crescent moon. There's a cicada on a honeycomb, just like top of the Vatican. The biggest altar in the world is not only sheep with its tongue sticking out, it is also an image of a large bug. There it is. This is a large locust. In the mouth of the locust is the female reproductive system. And God's angels are caught in a system of transmutation, and we're being converted through the host body system into food for another race of beings. And that other race of beings are locusts, and they're going to come out of the pit, and that's why a human in a slave collar turns into a locust from the pit, because that's what we're used for. A human in a slave collar becomes a locust from the pit. The human host body is nothing more than a transmutation machine in order to convert God's angels into food for another race of beings.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.